Hi, I'm Sam Cox, Commercial Director at Qdos, and today we're going to be looking at some basics around the insurance requirements for businesses in the recruitment space. Obviously, all businesses need insurance to protect against the basics, things like property and contents cover. But with recruitment, there's a few sort of specialist areas that do need to be looked at in a little bit more detail, and today we're going to cover off a couple of those. Specifically, we're going to look at professional indemnity insurance and public liability insurance. So, what is professional indemnity insurance? Professional indemnity insurance is effectively a policy that will protect a business in the event that they're alleged to have caused a third party a financial loss through negligent actions or omissions. Public liability, by contrast, provides the same type of cover in respect of physical damage or personal injury that, again, the business may have caused. Now, all businesses will carry this type of insurance to varying degrees, but in the recruitment space there are a few specific considerations that need to be borne in mind. This is largely due to the contract structures and how these businesses operate with the workers that are provided to third parties. So why do recruiters need to take particular care when it comes to arranging professional indemnity and public liability cover? Ultimately, it comes down to something referred to as vicarious liability in a lot of cases. Now, that's one party taking responsibility for another. Best example is an employer-employee relationship. I work for Qdos. If I make a mistake or an error in the services that I provide and that causes a third party a loss, if there is a legal case to be heard in respect of that mistake, then that will be brought against Qdos as a business, not against me as an individual. Within the recruitment space, the employment status of the worker can be challenged, and the contractual terms in place between the recruitment business and the hiring organisation and the umbrella or payroll company, if there's one involved in the chain, can actually muddy the waters about who is responsible for the actions of the worker. It's really important that recruitment businesses understand to what extent they're exposed to vicarious liability and make sure that their professional indemnity insurance and their public liability insurance policies respond accordingly. So how does a recruitment business understand what type of cover that they need? The starting point here is always going to be the contract. That will set out how liability attaches in the event of a claim and really does need to be discussed with a broker at the point where you're arranging cover. There are no hard and fast rules, but in general, if you're placing workers on a permanent basis only, or your contract terms are structured in such a way that you are completely removing the vicarious liability for the actions of those workers and you're confident in that, you've got the option then to insure on an excluding vicarious basis. This obviously reduces the cost because you're only insuring your own recruitment activities and not the actions of the worker, but ultimately doesn't cover you if the worst should happen and you're drawn into a claim relating to something that the worker has done. Businesses placing temporary or contract staff will need to pay a lot of attention here. Clearly, even if your contracts are very strong, there can be circumstances where a hirer, a third party, or even the worker themselves could try to bring a claim against you or the umbrella company as a result of an error that's happened in the provision of services. So, how does a recruitment business know what type of cover to buy? Ultimately, it is going to come down to contract, and it's important that that is discussed with your broker when you're arranging cover. At one end of the scale, if you're placing permanent staff and under very strong contract terms, it's unlikely that you'll need the same level of cover as a business that is taking full contractual liability for the workers that they place. So how do we go about arranging cover? Ultimately, reach out and talk to Qdos. We'll be happy to discuss your requirements, go through in detail the specifics of what you need, and help you get in place a suitable policy. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions or would like to discuss your requirements, just get in touch.